Makyana Timanda Sanchana Sexually Tamina Tasman Venama Naman Vishnu Padai Krishna Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Kinama Namaste Saraswati Devi Kalvani Pacham Nirvishish Nirvadi Paskachai Prasatam Prabhupada King. Now we'll go to the entire process of 8 stages of yoga, Stanga Yoga. First, having described the stages of Stanga Yoga, Krishna next explains the practice of those stages. By practicing yoga with determination, controlling the mind and fixing the mind on the supersoul, one attains the stage of perfection called samadhi, wherein one enjoys unlimited transcendental bliss. Six pointing. Yoga yungita sata tam atmanam rasi stita ekaki jata sitatma nirasir aparihraham. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Should live alone in a secluded place, carefully controlling his mind. Free from desires of feelings of possessiveness. Perfect. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma are also partially Krishna conscious, because impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Krishna, and the super soul is his all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. So Prabhupada said they are all partially Krishna conscious. Interesting, because they are further. A directly Krishna conscious person, that's the highest, is a topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. He knows that Brahman is the effulgence of Krishna's body, transcendental body, and Paramatma is local aspects, is partial expansion. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him for a moment. These are the most important injunctions. Think of Krishna and never forget him. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. Further, in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. So that's a high realization, free from all feelings of possessiveness. That you don't think this is my wife or my husband. Have feelings of possessiveness. Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. So, and then again, this same verse of Nectar of Devotion is quoted again, the same verse. Anasa saktasya visayam yatartam upayon yata nirmala krishna sambandhe yukta varahyam uchate papanshikatya bhutya harisambina vastuna mamukshabir paichiro varahyam palkukachate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rarely situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not complete in his renunciation. So these are what are the elements here. One is not attached to anything as the first thing. And one must accept everything in relation to Krishna, belongs to Krishna and is for his enjoyment. And then one is rarely situated above possessiveness, thus real renunciation. That if one rejects things without knowledge of its relationship with Krishna, like the impersonalists do, one is not complete in his renunciation. That you can renounce only something that belongs to you, but nothing in this world belongs to us. So all that kind of realization is untrue. It's not renunciation. You cannot renounce what's not yours. You say, I renounce the house of my neighbor. What will everyone say? It's not yours. What are you saying? You are mad. So that's the reality. If we say this is mine, we are mad because it's not ours. It belongs to Krishna. That is the right knowledge. So we don't have anything to renounce because nothing is ours. But the impersonalists, they say, I renounced my house, my wife, my car, everything, mine. But nothing is theirs. So that's called false renunciation. Interesting. That's the reality. So a Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna and is always free from feelings of possessiveness. But yeah, Krishna is also free from feeling of possessiveness. He said to Rukmini when he was teaching Rukmini, I'm a beggar, I don't have anything. Everything belongs to Ugrasena, my grandfather. So I'm a poor man. And Rukmini later said, yes, it's true. You cannot have anything because you are everything. Then it's difficult. You are everything. Yeah, everything comes from him. That's Krishna. As such, he has no anchoring for anything or his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. That we must know. Second and third verse of Nectar of Instruction. What's good for the soul, what's bad for the soul. So, possessiveness. Do not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle one by feelings of possessiveness. Engage the mind in relationship with the Supreme, be free from desires of possessiveness. Ekaki, alone. You have to be alone to perform this yoga. You have to go to the forest and be alone. Prabhupada said, a Krishna conscious person is always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. That's what it means for Prabhupada. Yeah, only in association of devotees. That a lot of devotees here. But, where is this? Someone recognizes. I also think the Kiev temple is different. I've been there regularly. So maybe Moscow also. Eight limbs, yeah, we already discussed them. Sutra 229, Patanjali. So you want to study the sutras of Patanjali. So the stage in yeah. Okay, stages. Yeah, that we are discussing. We are going forward. Stages in yoga, practice and samadhi, having described the stages of Ashtanga yoga. Krishna next explains the practice of those stages by practicing yoga with determination, controlling the mind and fixing the mind in the supersoul. One attains the stage of perfection called samadhi, where one enjoys unlimited transcendental pleasure. That comes later. But first we have to purify the internal organ. 11, 12. Chucha deshe patistapya stiram asanamatmana natyuchitam nati nicham shalachina kusuttam tataikakam mahakritva yatta sitandriya kriya upavishya sane yunyat yogamatma visudhaye. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and soft cloth. Why a deer skin? The deer skin keeps away the serpents. Otherwise, one is in samadhi and thinks every moment a serpent may come. And your meditation is disturbed. A deer skin. The seat should not be high, neither too high nor too low, and what should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. That Paul David Yabusha as another translation. Establishing his own solid asana in a clean place, not too high, not too low. He should prepare a sitting place by spreading kusha grass, then placing a deer skin and cloth over it, sitting on the asana, concentrating his mind on one point and controlling the activities of the mind and senses. He should engage in yoga for the purification of the internal organ. Hare Krishna, internal organ. Shuddha in a sanctified land. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, yogis, the transcendentalists or devotees, all live from and reside in a sacred place such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Hardwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers of the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. Hare Krishna. A lot of people there. You need to find a place to practice in solitude. Reflections. The yogi engages in meditation for purification of the inner organ of consciousness, Atma Visuddhaya. This freedom from disturbance, which makes the internal organ very subtle, is suitable for direct realization of Brahman. So, a question to us, am I concerned with the cleanliness of my consciousness? What is my personal plan for purifying my consciousness from material attachment and entanglement? So it's said here in the purport. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Virat, in the Viranaradia Purana, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So that's for this age. This was in previous ages. This yoga is not suitable for this age. 13, 14. Okay. Samam kaya sirogivam dharayana chanam shtiraha sampekshana sikakam svamdishasana valokayam Vashantatma vigatabir vamachari pratistita mana samyamya machita yukta ashita matpara. One should hold one's neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So when the yogi should now meditate, half closed eyes, meditating on the tip of the nose. You can try it. That not easy. That they don't close their eyes because they fall asleep. So they keep their eyes half closed and look at the tip of the nose, tip of the nose. So the yoga practice in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. There's a purpose. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. Further. It is here said, yeah. But the Jnana and Dhyan schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the Bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita is said, 259, Vishya Vinavartante Nairasya Dena, Rasa Varsyam Rasopyasa Paramdristvani Bhartve. Whereas others are forced to retrain themselves on sense gratification, the devotee of the Lord ultimately refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vijatabi, a conditioned soul, is fearful due to his perverted memory, is for forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam says, Vayam tviyata viniveshata syat, isatapatasya vipayayo smriti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. So yeah, meditate. This is the beginning of that. This is the beginning of meditation. The Dharan and the Dhyan. That Srila Prabhupada writes, one must practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex is the chief. So an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear and completely free from sex life. This is from Narottam Das Thakur. Harika Benita Itchaner, Karuna Hoibe, Samsara Vasana More Kabe Tutsahabe. So Narottam Das Thakur prays. When will that day come? When Lord Nityananda's courses mercy is bestowed upon me, so that my desire for material enjoyment becomes very insignificant. Devotee prays like that. Yoga is meant for cessation of material existence. That's text 15. So just a recap of the principles that we have gone until now in the stages of yoga. So a yogi must organize favorable conditions for meditation, means he needs to live alone in a secluded place and must be free from feelings of possessiveness. It's not easy, but for the devotee it's easy. He practices yukta vairagya, using everything in Krishna's service. Therefore, the Bhakti yoga is perfect yoga. So, an Ashtanga yoga must follow so many rules. He must leave home, be celibate, follow several restrictions, and go to a sacred place to perform his asans. Of course, today yoga societies do not care for that. But they have other purposes. That kind of yoga will not bring results. But all these restrictions are impossible to follow at the present age. There were Prabhupada at the end of the purpose said, the process for spiritual self-realization in this age is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, direct meditation on Krishna as the holy name. So the purpose of yoga is to discover Paramatma in the heart. We have heard in 6-7, Paramatma Samahita. Attaining the Paramatma is the purpose of yoga. To see the Paramatma within one's heart. And of course, the ultimate goal is to serve Krishna. They have then to come to Bhakti yoga. Therefore, any yoga practice without this purpose of finding Paramatma in the heart is a waste of time. So, in Dhyan and the Dhyan process or Ashtanga yoga, celibacy is mandatory. The Bhakti process is so powerful that the controlled householder engaged in Krishna's service, he loses his taste for sexual attraction. Therefore, in the Bhakti process, this is possible. Now text 15. Yungam evam sadatmanam yoga niyata manasam. Santim nirvana paramam mat samstam adhigacchati. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist is mind-regulated, attains the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. So, in the purport, yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of material existence. Cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky and abode of the Lord. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Paramdham, or superior abodes. So it's interesting, the kingdom of God is everywhere. We are in the kingdom of God. That's the good news. The bad news is we are in the prison section. That's, yes, it's a black cloud, Mad Tattva cloud in the spiritual sky, and we are there. But we are also in the kingdom of God in that sense. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly stated herein by the Lord himself, Machita Mat Paramat Sthan, can attain real peace and can ultimately reach the supreme abode, Krishna Loka, known as Goloka Vrindavan. No one can reach the spiritual sky Vaikuntha or enter into the eternal abode without proper understanding Krishna and his plenary expanses. Yeah. To go there, Krishna says, Bhakti Amama Misanti Avyasasmi Tat Tattamam Tatvaturgatva Vishate Tat Anantaram. To go there, Vishate Tat Anantaram, to go to the spiritual sky, to go to the spiritual planets, one must have bhakti, devotion. Without devotion, you don't enter, cannot enter. But, yeah. So all these jnanis and these yogis cannot enter because their aim is either Brahman or Paramatma. That their aim must be Bhagavan, not for Krishna. In other words, perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom of material existence, not some magical circuitry or gymnastic feats to befool the innocent people. So here Prabhupada said, I mentioned this again, from the purport, a consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding the Lord himself can attain real peace and can ultimately reach the supreme abode known as Goloka Vrindavan. Oh, here, not eating too much, not sleeping too much, not too less. Nas asnatasta yogasti nasikantam anasnatam. There's no possibility of one becoming a yogi, Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, or sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Prabhupada comments two passages from the purport. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eats only the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Yes. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. When you get older, that's no problem. That you can lie 8 hours in bed and sleep 2 hours. You can't sleep anymore. Of course, if you eat too much, but
Oké, ik zoek het.
Okay. So, Vishwanath Bhakti says, You can try it out. That is his formula. One should fill the stomach half with food, 1/4 with water, and 1/4 for the movement of the air. Should half with food. So that is, we have all different hands. Bishma have big hands. Bhima, I mean, big hands. But we have small hands. But you can hold in your hand, that's the continence of that is what your body can contain, your stomach can contain, that is what you can digest in one time. And from this Vishwanaksha Bhakti Daikose, you can eat half, and 1/4 for water, 1/4 for, there's not much, very little. Prabhupada said a devotee eats fruitually, not much. And he was also not eating much, but a little here and there. But of course, if you sleep, take too less. Yes,
I still have a question and doubt about section what you are saying. You sleep more than 6 hours, you're influenced by the modes of nature.
Yeah.
Is it necessary that every devotee who sleeps more than 6 hours is surely then influenced by the mode of nature?
That, yeah, even if you sleep only 6 hours, you are also influenced by the modes of nature. Yeah, all in Maya, that's the problem. But what the point he makes is, if you sleep more than 6 hours, you will be especially influenced by the mode of ignorance, the lower modes. It will drag you down. Sexual attraction will come, and all these things, and bad dreams. Of course, materialists, they like these dreams. We don't want these dreams. And that comes, yes. That especially also, don't sleep during twilight. Very dangerous. Twilight, many subtle beings are trying to enter your body and use your body for sexual purposes. And then you wake up and your mind is full of lust. Where does it come from? That's from these subtle beings, especially during twilight. One should not sleep. Get up before. Don't take a nap again before. No, twilight is now. It's now going on. That's well, you should wait till it's good dark and then take them. There are so many things you learn from the Bhagavatam. When you study the Bhagavatam, you learn all these things. In Mayapur, with twilight, they go around with incense everywhere to get away these ghosts, and this Prabhupada instructed us. Hmm? Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it changes every day, huh? That I have it on my watch here when it comes dark. Now it will be 7:40 or something. No, that's tomorrow, 7:40, getting up. And here now, the sun is going under now. It's going up. It's 18. Yeah, it's going under now. So you should wait till it's good dark before going to sleep. Anyway, if you eat too much, you see what's happened. This young man here, what's going to happen with us? He doesn't know what is awaiting him. A lot of misery in old days. If you live like this, you don't live very long. And also this, too less, not good. Balance, Krishna says. balance in eating, sleeping, and in recreation. Both recreation and Krishna consciousness. 16. Yeah, one who eats more than is required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Yes?
So I have great problems sleeping a little, less than 6 hours. It's impossible to keep this on an everyday basis. It's needed, I would say, 7 hours or more. And
This is something you built up. If you go over your, if you go over what your balance is that you need, you will not be able to maintain it. It's better to sleep sufficient so that in the morning you can concentrate on your chanting. That's important. But early rise means early to bed. Go to bed early. Even if it means 8 o'clock, go to bed. But get up early. That's good for your spiritual practice. 17. Yukta hara viharasya yukta sastasya karmasu yukta svapna pabodasya yoga bhavati dukkha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by the practice of the yoga system. And that's in the purport, a few lines I read. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when the practice is to take when the practice is to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food, further. A Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. His sleeping is to kept to a minimum. Then at the end, since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other body activities, there is no material misery for him. Because we like to serve Krishna. That's our recreation. That's what Prabhupada says. So we see here regulated in eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. Eating can be regulated only when one practices to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. The Krishna person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any time spent in sleeping is considered a great loss. The Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material pleasure for a person in Krishna consciousness. So that's the essence of this purport. But we see Prabhupada, he was sleeping 3-4 hours a night, 2 hours a night. And in his service he did, all these young men could not follow him. Had not the energy that he had. He was driving on spiritual energy. Also, the 6 Goswamis, maximum 2 hours a week, every night they were sleeping. Otherwise, they were translating, they were writing books, so many services, always busy in Krishna consciousness. But we cannot imitate it. They were driving on spiritual energy. That we have to build it up slowly. And do not go over your balance. Don't disturb your balance. Be regulated. If you need 7 hours, sleep 7 hours, but keep it to that. And it may gradually diminish that, but keep to that, keep that. Don't try to imitate these great souls. You will fall down. That you have to build it up. That's what my Guru Maharaj said. Like a weightlifter, you build it up. This is the daily shell of Bhakti Thakur. He was taking rest at 7:30, 8:30 p.m. in the evening. At 1 p.m., so that's at 10 p.m., so it was 2 hours and a half sleeping. He would rise, light oil lamp, and write his books. Till 4 a.m. in the morning, 6 hours. And then he would take rest till 4:30, then rise, wash his hands and face and chant Hare Krishna mantra, japa. And then till 7, and 7 he would write letters. 7:30 he would read the scriptures. 8:30 he would receive guests and continue to read. Then he would 9:30, 9:45 take rest. He would take morning bath, breakfast of a half quart milk and a couple of chapatis and some fruits. At 9:55 he would go to court in a carriage. He would wear coat and pants to court with double-sized tulsi neck beads and Vaishnava tilak. He was very strong in his decisions. He would decide immediately. He did not allow any humbug in his court. No upstart could stand before him. He would shave his head monthly. He never had any debts. 1:10 a.m. the court began. 1 p.m. court finished. He comes home and bath and refresh. 2 p.m. he would return to the office. Would not eat, but return to the office. 5 p.m. he would translate works from Sanskrit to Bengali. Then he would take an evening bath, a meal of rice, couple of chapatis, half quart, 1 pint, 20 ounces, or approximately half liter of milk. That it was how he lived. Bhakti Thakur. Yeah, in this light of this knowledge, how can I improve my personal schedule? Here it is, you can print it out. Hare Krishna. 18. Yada vinyatam shitam atmaneva fatishtate nishpriya savakamebhyo yukta ityuchate tada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So it's many things here that yes, discipline is mental activities, devoid of material desires. So purport, the activities of a yoga are distinguished from those ordinary persons by its characteristic cessation from all kinds of desires, of which sex is the chief. Perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of his mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. So how to control the body, mind, and senses, the mind in this way, how to discipline it? How does the Bhakti Yoga do that? And Prabhupada quotes again, he quoted before at the end of the 20th of the 2nd chapter, the same verses I'm going to read. Savai mana Krishna padara bindiyo, vacham shvakunti gunana karnani, Kahari mandir machna disu shrutim sakarachuja satta katodaye mukunda linga layadarsane drisha tadbritya gatra sparshan ka sangamam kanam satat padra saroda sarabe Shimatulasya rasanam tadakpite Pidaha Kshatrapadana Sarpane Siro Rishike Shapadana Bin Fandane Kamam Sadasye Natukama Kamyayam Yatota Masto Kajana Sajarati. Can someone read the translation of the verse?
King Mahesh first of all engaged his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then, one after another, he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulasi leaf offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting of the devotee.
Yeah, so the mind is controlled by thinking of Krishna. And the mind is controlled because the mind engages the senses in all these activities. Always busy. At the end of the purpose, the senses and the mind require engagement. The mind must always be busy. Otherwise, the mind will do mischief if it's not kept at bay by engagement. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind as described above is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. So here on the screen, Srila Prabhupada, a perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. Always busy in Krishna consciousness. Disciplining the mind. What does disciplining the mind mean? Does the mind direct my intelligence, or do I direct the mind with intelligence? Do I act as I feel? Then you have finished. Hare Krishna. Yukta. The senses and the mind require engagement. Simply abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially for those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind, as described above, is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in Bhagavad Gita. Yes. 19. Yata dipo nivatasto ningate sopamasmita yogana yoga sittasya yung yato yogamatmana. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. So a Krishna conscious person remains always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on the worshipful Lord, as steady as a lamp in a windless place. Steady, without distractions. Do I perform my service without distraction? Hare Krishna. Distraction. That's the modern man, busy with so many things at the same time. Samadhi. Now the next, we come at the last stage of of Ashtanga Yoga, Samadhi. This is describing the experience of the yogi that Yatra Paramate Sitam Nirudam Yoga Sevaya Yatra Shivatmanatanam Pashamatmani Tushati Sukamatyantikam Yatat Buddhihayam Atindayam Veti Yatrana Sevayam Stitasrati Tattvatam Yam labba saparam labba manyate nadikam tata yasman stito nadukena guna prafichalyate tat vitya dukasam yoga vyokam yoga samyukam. In the stage of perfection called trance of samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to release and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material content. So how does it sound? The purport. By practice of yoga, one becomes wholly detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristics of the yoga principle. There is acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system. I remember there are verses which describe that transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali Sutras. I studied them many years ago. There is acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist. But in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. So we have transcendental senses. Interesting. That means a transcendental body. The soul has a form. But according to Patanjali, this kaivalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which a living entity becomes aware of its constitutional position. In other words, Lord Chaitanya, this state of affairs is called Chaito Darpana Marjanam, or clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. This clearance is actually liberation, or Bhavama Dabhagnina Nirvapanam. The theory of Nirvana also preliminary corresponds with this principle in the Bhagavatam 2.10.6. This is called Svarupena Vyavastiti. So this verse gives the definition of liberation. Liberation, this verse says, is the permanent situation of the living entity. The permanent situation of the living entity who got rid of the body, of the gross and subtle body, after being liberated from the gross and subtle body. This is the permanent situation of the living entity. That is what this verse says. So this is the real life of the living entity. So further, this is confirmed in Vedanta Sutra as Ananda Maya Sat. The natural transcendental pleasure is the ultimate goal of yoga and is easily achieved by execution of devotion service or Bhakti yoga. That's very well learned that this further in the 13th chapter, I think in the beginning, 13. 4 or 5, I think. Yeah, 5. In 13:15, Krishna speaks about the Vedanta Sutra. In the purport writes, as stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Pucham Pratishta, and it gives 5 levels of consciousness. Anamoya, food consciousness. Pranamoya, I'm not alone, there are also living entities who want food, and I may have to fight for it. This is animal consciousness. And then higher is Manamoya, I'm thinking, feeling, willing. The one who gets the human body. But it's thinking, feeling, willing. One identifies with the thinking, feeling, willing, with the mind and with the emotions. That's a conditioned state of life. But then when one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one comes to Vijnana Moya. It goes from Manamoya of Jnana Yoga, Jnana Moya, to Vijnana Moya. He understands he's not his body, I'm a spirit soul, and he starts to practice purifying his consciousness from all these material desires. Becomes a devotee. And when he gets samadhi perfection, he gets Anandamaya, spiritual, unmeasurable spiritual bliss. That's the same here. The same. That although not really the same, because this is usually Brahman realization, and the pleasure derived from devotional service is millions times more multiplied by 1,000,000 times the pleasure of Brahman. So you can imagine. So that's is what we are meant for. Ananda Maya Vyasat. We are pleasure seeking, that we should seek pleasure in the soul and in our relationship with Krishna, not in matter. That's the mistake we make. So this is natural transcendental pleasure, and that is the ultimate goal of yoga, and easily achieved by Bhakti yoga. When the yoga is once situated in that transcendental position, he is never shaken unless the yogi is able to reach this position is unsuccessful. The yogi indulging in sex and intoxication is mockery. If yogis are attracted by the byproducts of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection. What is the byproduct? The byproduct is 9 mystic perfections. Becoming greater than the greatest, smaller than the smallest, getting everything what you desire. That anyway, be able to control others' minds, and so many mystic powers. Entered stone, and that there was one yogi in India somewhere, and the police arrested him, put him in jail. And a few hours later, he was home again. He made himself so small that he went to the opening of the keyhole, and he was again home, and they just left him because nothing he can do with it. Anyway, similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone, no, okay, that's the next purpose. The Krishna conscious person is so happy in his occupation that he does not aspire for any other happiness. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, making the best use of a bad bargain, and enjoys transcendental pleasure in Krishna consciousness. So we have on the screen, Samadhi is the perfection of trance. or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by the practice of yoga. The make-show yogi. If yogis are attracted to the byproducts of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection. Persons, therefore, indulging in the make-show practice of gymnastic feats or siddhis should know that the aim of yoga is lost in that way. Here, see what happens. Not sure, but here come out that yoga should be performed with enthusiasm, like the bird who attempted to drive the ocean with stolen legs. We hear about that in the purport of 24. Sani sayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinashitasa sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvan asheshata manasai vendriyagamam viniyamya samantata. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of speculation and has control. And has thus the control to control all the senses on all sides by the mind. So one should be determined that and it quotes the third verse of Upada Samrita. Utsanishyadaya tatat karma pavartanat sangatyara satovite sadhya bhakti prasidati. One can execute the pose of bhakti yoga successfully and with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. And then the answer comes, the story comes. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her egg in the wave of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the ocean carried away the eggs in its wave. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return the eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job, but if anyone follows the principles with determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. It's beautiful. Yes. Verse 24. All senses by the mind, that we will discuss tomorrow, I think, 25. Yeah. So, any question? Yes.
What's the difference between a transcendentalist and a Bhakti yogi?
Yes. A Bhakti yogi is the highest transcendentalist. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. One whose goal is Brahman is also a transcendentalist, because Brahman is transcendental. And the yogis mostly, they want also to merge with Brahman. They find Paramatma. So that's also transcendental. But it is a temporary achievement. Because even if they go to Brahman, they don't merge with Brahman, because the soul cannot merge. It's situated in Brahman. And after some time in Brahman, it's very nice there. There you see the happiness that is received here in Brahman. But the problem is, after a few millions of years, it becomes boring. There's no activities. Because the soul wants activities. And then to have activities, they cannot enter into the spiritual world because they need devotion for that, and they have no relation with Krishna. So they have to come back to this material world to get activities. That's yes.
That's what says it makes sense.
Oh, very intelligent. Thank you. So something else? Yeah, I did so. Perform Bhakti yoga. Good. But of course, it doesn't make sense for them, but they don't know about Krishna. That's the problem. Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. Then we continue tomorrow with the last two parts of this, the 6th chapter. Hare Krishna.
Bhakti Maharaj ki
Srila Prabhupada.